Great. Well, hello, everybody. I am excited that you are all here with us today to talk about hero ingredients with Vanessa Thomas, the founder and CEO of Freelance Formulations. And as always, my name is Susanne. I am the co-founder and CEO of Citrus Labs. And Citrus Labs provides clinical trials for brands such as supplements, cosmetics, and devices. And we are hosting this series to bring resources to you to start and scale your own brands. Today is probably more relevant for founders in the cosmetic space that are thinking about launching either skincare, hair care, or beauty products, but I'm sure it will be very interesting as we go into product formulation with Vanessa. As always, some housekeeping. Please put any questions you have in the Q&A box or in the chat. And let's get started. Vanessa, thank you so much for talking to me or to us today. I'm excited to learn from you. And you are the founder and CEO of Freelance Formulations. And what do you do at Freelance Formulations? And what is your mission with the company?
Sure. I just want to start by saying thank you for this opportunity today to be a guest on your platform and talk to your audience today about how to validate the impact of hero ingredients in your final formula. So let me introduce Freelance Formulations. Freelance Formulations is a health and beauty product development agency, and we specialize in custom formulations for beauty creators, such as indie brand startups, celebrity influencers, licensed medical professions, and entrepreneurs that have they have a brilliant idea that they want to bring to market. And our mission here is to bring formulation ownership directly to the hands of our partnering brands. So we're not only just creating high quality products, but we're also developing long, lasting relationships built on trust, truth, professionalism, all backed by science.
That's awesome. I like it. Trust, truth, professionalism, and backed by science. Obviously, very important. Yeah. And super cool. I didn't know that you also work with celebrity influencers. Can you share a couple of names?
We cannot really do any name dropping because we are tied to some NDAs.
Oh yeah, I believe that. But that's really cool.
Yeah, it is. It's exciting.
Yeah. And could you share some insights, into the significance of hero ingredients, and especially also, with regard to the formulation process, specifically for skincare and cosmetic brands?
Sure, certainly. So when choosing the correct hero ingredients, it's critical in the development process. And as a formulator, it's utterly important for us to have a thorough understanding of the problem the brand is trying to solve and having a clear understanding of the desired user experience. So they're both equally as important. So in doing so, I'm able to research and recommend and choose the proper hero ingredient that will effectively address the user's problem and also provide the desired results and outcome. But in most cases, our clients, they're coming to us with research and proven remedies, and they pretty much have a list of hero ingredients that they would like us to use in their formula.
Okay. And can you share a couple of examples of what a hero ingredient actually is and how it can look like?
So some of the examples of hero ingredients?
Yeah, that would be great.
Sure. So again, like I said, typically our clients come to us with a combination of different hero ingredients, whether they've done market research on their own. For example, hyaluronic acid, ceramides, peptides, they're all popular skincare hero ingredients right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
HA peptides everywhere.
They're everywhere. So
Yeah,
usually our client has either caught wind, they've read something, and they'll usually come to us and just pretty much say, hey, you know what, this is a leading trending ingredient right now in the market, and we just want you to pretty much duplicate a product and incorporate these hero ingredients because it's easier. So there's less education required. Everyone's already familiar with the product benefits, but we may have other clients that they're either experiencing a medical condition and they have a natural remedy at home that they use, and they'll come to us and they just really want help getting this product or utilizing this hero ingredient and getting this remedy commercialized so they can share it with the world. And then
oh yeah, go ahead.
And then we just have others that kind of want us to kind of just start from scratch and have us do in-depth analysis and identify any gaps in the market and create high quality products based on cutting edge and new cutting edge hero ingredients.
Okay. And I think you have two approaches, right? You have a customized formula approach, and then you also have a white labeling approach, correct?
So it's not really considered white labeling because our whole mission is to provide formulation ownership to the client. So we've created a library of stock formulas that you can kind of just go on the back end of our website under stock formulas, view the library, and pretty much purchase the IP or the formulation and go straight into manufacturing. Or you can come through in-house, the custom route, and pretty much start based off of your idea.
That makes sense. And when you want to do a custom formula, how do you then also approach, testing and also validation of obviously the whole formulation, but also the hero ingredient, to also ensure, effectiveness and also align with then eventually the customer expectations?
Yeah, so typically the formulator isn't really responsible, like the responsible party doing the testing and the validation of the hero ingredients themselves as a raw material, like in raw material form. So usually that step is done by our suppliers. And they usually test the hero ingredient, and they're usually getting clinical studies or trials via in vitro and in vivo testing, and utilizing those results and showcasing them to the chemist. And we're then sharing that information to the brand so they can build some basic marketing claims.
Okay. So basically what's happening is that you formulate, you're using obviously ingredients from a supplier, and then the supplier typically conducted already clinical studies, either with citrus labs or with another party. And then, your clients can then use the claims, for example, and the research that has been conducted that the supplier basically got, and then incorporate that into their own marketing.
Yeah, in a way. So we can usually use that data from the supplier to support the raw material and its benefits, usually as a raw material. But we always recommend testing the hero ingredient in the finished product that we developed for the brand. So we'll usually highly recommend the brand contacting citrus labs to get the finished product, clinical studies done on the finished product, so they can then claim more detailed scientific back.
Absolutely, and that makes a lot of sense, because obviously, having research on one ingredient is great, but then you have you as a chemist know, right? You have different ingredients, and then they might interact with that one ingredient, and then you have different effects, and then these different effects can then the actual effectiveness and also the actual safety of the product can then be tested in a clinical study, with the actual final formulation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and when we talked before, you mentioned that most of your customers already know and have an idea about their hero ingredient. And how do your customers typically find their hero ingredient?
Again, yeah, they really pretty much just do the research on their own. They've heard it through the industry and in magazines. They've seen the results and they contact us and they're like, hey, you know what, this is trending right now. We want you to throw this into our product. Or again, it's the home remedy.
Yeah, so, yeah, we have a lot of clients that tell us. A couple of skincare clients actually told us that, well, this is a formulation that my grandma used or great grandma used in the 20s and 30s, and it actually helped the family, and now we want to commercialize it. It's pretty awesome.
We get that all the time.
Yeah, I think that's really great if you have like history of a specific formulation. Obviously, trends are great, but I think that when you have some sort of history with that formulation, it's really amazing. And what challenges do brands typically face when trying to first come up with their formulation? When they are working with you, what typically the challenges you see, and how can your clients actually overcome these effectively?
Yeah, sure. So typically the clients that we work with, again, they're startups. They don't really have the funding or the financial backing from the investors and the capital venturalists. So they typically are challenged with their budget. So it's kind of difficult for them to come up with the funds for third-party testing to provide scientific backed claims. So they're really stuck on kind of the general claims, like the helps with wrinkle reduction or assist with. So I was just hoping, that's where you kind of come in, and maybe you can suggest some economical approaches that these brands can take when working with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So especially when it comes to clinical testing, there's obviously, we have actual clinical trials, and then one thing that's also very popular amongst cosmetics is something called consumer perception studies. And typically what we see for bootstrapped founders or bootstrapped brands, or brands with very with just a little bit of investment, they typically opt for perception studies because it gives you amazing claims, right? Claims are for perception studies are also typically low risk, right? It's anything that includes like smoothes the look of fine lines, wrinkles, or reduces the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles. Stuff like that is fairly low risk, and also is creating like a strong message also for the brands, especially if the product actually works and you get strong numbers associated with it, like 80%, 90%, very rarely 100%, but it does happen, and this is a very great cost-effective way. And then obviously for brands that have more funding and that want to include more research into their into their brand, they can also include skin analysis, for example. We can include instruments, expert skin grading, for example, and same goes with hair. I think right now one big topic is hair, and Vanessa, growth. You're probably also seeing that.
Yes, right? Hair growth. Yes.
Yeah. So hair is trending right now, and there are different methodologies that you can use to measure that. To measure hair growth. As a cosmetic, I want to say, I'm not an attorney, but I heard that you can't make hair growth claims as a cosmetic. You would need to be, certified kind of as a drug.
As a drug, okay.
Yeah, but so there are ways, also perception, but also actual clinical trials where you can get, claims on hair, hair fall, hair growth, stuff like that. But basically there are two options that brands have. One is more cost efficient, and the other one is a little bit more expensive, but obviously includes a lot more robust research.
And then when it comes to skin hyperpigmentation, we get a lot of projects for that as well. People suffering with dark spots and wanting to use different actives or skincare actives to help fade and even skin tone. Are there some studies that they can conduct?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously for hyperpigmentation, if you want to, so there again, you can do a very cost efficient, perception where you create claims around, the appearance of dark spots. Hyperpigmentation was reduced based on, that panel, or you actually go in and say, I wanna conduct a clinical trial. I want to get my skin analyzed. They are machines like Optic Elite, for example, or Visia, where it basically is a photo machine, but it sits on an algorithm, and then it analyzes skin and can actually also analyze hyperpigmentation, dark spots, and then you also have the option to do an expert skin grading done by a dermatologist, and they can also go in and do before and after comparison of hyperpigmentation, dark spots.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Very interesting.
Yeah. And, from your perspective, are there any specific considerations or best practices that brands should keep in mind when formulating their products, specifically with hero ingredients for maximum impact?
Absolutely. So when working with a chemist to formulate your products, using your hero ingredients, we're keeping in mind the ingredient compatibility and then also the optimal use percentage. So those two are key, because it's the responsibility of the formulator to ensure that the hero ingredients, like you said before, are compatible with the other ingredients in the formula. So they don't cause any negative interactions and stability issues that can then cause the adverse reactions that you were talking about. So, and for that exact reason, that's why we always recommend getting stability testing, preservative efficacy testing, and HRIPT, the patch test testing, when our clients do formulate with us. We always recommend that.
Absolutely. HRIPT is going more towards sensitivity and also safety. So that is something that definitely is very important. And can you share some insights into the process of, from what you were seeing when you're working with these brands, of launching, a beauty brand with a really high quality formulation, and how these hero ingredients really play a role in also building the brand and brand identity?
Sure. So successfully launching a high quality beauty product that gains attention and sales in today's market is not easy. It isn't. So it requires like a clear brand concept, being able to identify your target audience, conducting extensive market research to understand the consumer needs and preference, and being able to identify the gaps in the market. So, and with all of this research, it helps us choose the proper hero ingredient that aligns with the brand's concept and resonates with the target audience. So it's important that your hero ingredient addresses the specific needs of the consumer and differentiates the brand from the competitors. So yeah, I think the way that brands can shape their identity and create that narrative around their hero ingredients and craft the compelling stories is key. It's they're able to communicate the science, the sustainability, and really engage the consumer and build like that emotional connection to the brand. So I think that's important. It creates loyalty, and they pretty much have a consumer for life.
Yeah. Yeah, when you said, it's not easy. Yeah, I absolutely believe that it's definitely not easy, in today's
Mhm.
markets
Mhm.
to gain traction because there's just so much buzz and so much noise. You talked earlier about that one of your clients or some of your clients are celebrity influencers. I feel like every celebrity on this planet now has
As a
has a
brand.
brand as well. And
Absolutely.
yeah, for them it's obviously easier because they have already this community and this audience, and just say, hey, just launch that brand, please buy it. But I think to really get traction in today's market, I think your whole formulation is very important. And you mentioned also sustainability. I think this is also incredibly important, especially with all of the greenwashing that's unfortunately happening also in the markets. Having a true sustainable and true green and maybe even clean brand, I think really helps to differentiate brands right now, specifically from competitors, and having amazing hero ingredients as well that might not just be riding the trend wave. But speaking of trends, what do you think are like the trends right now, the innovations you are seeing that are really shaping the industry right now?
And you named a lot of them. So, the industry is constantly evolving, it's
Yeah.
constantly changing with the new trend terms like clean beauty, sustainability, the personalized and customized beauty,
Mm.
the science-backed formulas, the advanced delivery systems. We have plant-based, we have bio-based beauty, there's fermentation. So the consumer is just so bombarded with these new terminologies, product claims, and they're just beginning to get frustrated and confused and discouraged. And they begin to lose trust in the industry. So that's why I kind of feel like the FDA has aggressively stepped in to make sure that these brands are held responsible for misbranding. So
Mm-hmm.
the FDA, they're challenging brands every day to come up with proof and evidence that their products really work and are indeed safe for human
Yeah.
use. So it's
Yeah.
so important to back the claims up nowadays because the FDA will definitely come after brands.
Yeah, absolutely. And also the FTC sent out earlier this year 700 warning letters to
Mm.
brands for products that are making claims that are not substantiated. So this was like the first big thing that was happening recently. And
I'm sure
also
you're
what,
getting an influx of business.
yeah, yeah, that's what happened. But I think I also read a bunch of articles, especially also in clean beauty, right, where we then have the discussion: is clean beauty actually clean, or would it actually make sense to have some preservatives, for example? And it just said the bad word, right? But I think a bunch of these brands had mold,
Mm.
right, in their skincare in particular, and that's obviously something that shouldn't be there. And
Right.
where the clean brand was maybe a little bit too clean from an ingredients perspective, so that this happened. So I'm really happy that, as you mentioned, also FDA stepped up to hold these brands accountable in that sense as well. All right. And then, finally, based on your experience and your expertise, what advice would you give to brands looking to effectively then validate their hero ingredients and also communicate this impact on the hero ingredients to their consumers?
Based on my experience, I say my only advice for brands that are looking to get their products tested and validated for hero ingredient performance would be to contact businesses such as Citrus Lab so they can schedule and discuss their product goals and their benefits and hero ingredients and their proposed claims so you guys can come together and develop the best clinical testing strategy for the brand. I mean, that would be my number one advice. And then secondly, for brands to effectively communicate the impact of their hero ingredients, just in a simple and clear way that the consumer can understand, and avoid the exaggerating, misleading claims, because consumers they really do appreciate the honesty, and it builds trust.
Yeah, agreed. I also think that effective communication is key. And also obviously part of this communication strategy for brands is clinical trials. We do have a lot of clients that are very, science forward and very research driven, which is amazing. But for most brands, I think clinical trials are also part of their marketing and communication strategy. And this is what consumers also demand, right? I think I don't want to say all, because from a scientific perspective, that's a word that gets flagged, but most of our clients do see an impact on also their sales performance once they published studies. And that is something that shows that consumers actually care, not only about what's in the product, but also has this product been tested, and does that product actually work? Because I think there was also a crackdown on fake reviews, which the industry is also really fighting with, right? Can I trust reviews? I probably can't.
Before and after pictures
exactly.
With Photoshop.
Yeah, can I trust these photos, or are these just photoshopped, or even some models, right? But I think consumers are really looking for third-party clinical studies to then trust if a product actually works versus doesn't work.
Absolutely.
Okay. And Vanessa, if people want to talk to you about their formulation, how can people reach out to you?
They can reach out to us directly on our website at freelanceformulations.com, or they can call into the lab at 863-519-0881. And also, please follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Freelance Formulations 1.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you. And I think, now it's time to see if our audience has some questions for us. Let's see. I see a couple of raised hands. Let's see if I can unmute you. Okay, Selena, I'm now unmuting you.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Susan. Hi, Vanessa.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
So my question is, should a brand's hero ingredients necessarily be functional ingredients in the formulations? Did you get that?
Yes. Should the hero ingredient be the functional ingredient?
Yes.
That's not always the case, because sometimes the functional ingredient is usually, or not usually, sometimes it could be a chemical. But most brands don't want to market the chemical. They want to market the natural oil, or the botanical based sunscreen, or not sunscreen, sorry, cosmetic active versus the chemical. But most cases, I would just say most cases, it usually is the functional ingredient.
So what do you recommend on an ethical basis,
Ethical basis, I definitely recommend getting the clinical studies to back the claim.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, are there any other questions? You can also put them either in the QA or in the chat, or raise your hand. It works. First time we tried that. All right, if there are no more questions, I just want to thank you all for tuning in today. Our next webinar is actually coming up quickly. It's on July 27th with the FDA compliance attorney Heather Bustos, and we will talk about wellness devices and how they differ also from medical devices. We also published our last podcast episode with Heather on product claims earlier this week, in which we even reveal a bunch of low-risk claims that brands can make when they have obviously the substantiation. It's really amazing. You shouldn't miss this. And again, thank you very much for tuning in today. And I hope that you all have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Susanne.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.